I undertook my assignment 1 interview with Belle. Belle's a year 4 student at an independent Catholic school in the Rockingham area. Belle said that she has done a little bit of science, things like life cycles and things like that. She hasn't done any this year though, and is hoping to be able to do some. She did mention that in grade 6 is when the school does get to do more science, and she said to me that she knew that because that's when they get to use Bunsen burners, which she was pretty excited about. With this assignment, finding out what students know is really important. I've done this in this assignment by using concept cartoons. Along with that, the concept cartoons also questioning and discussion with Belle about her knowledge. So as a teacher, it's really important to find out what your students know, because you don't want to be then teaching at either a higher or a lower level to what they're actually capable of. You do want to obviously extend children, and that's where that scaffolding comes in. But if you're teaching at a higher level, when your students haven't actually understood or grasped the basic concepts, the concepts are going to go over their heads. So you really want to be teaching to students' levels. And in a classroom, this obviously could be a wide range of levels. So you'd have students that are really at that basic level, or you've got students that are able to grasp the more scientific concepts. And the concept cartoons actually allow for that open discussion, gives students an opportunity to voice their opinion and also what their thoughts are. And using those open-ended questions with them gathers that knowledge for the teacher as well. The two concepts which are on this map, and I do your poster, and obviously know that you'll be seeing the poster on the wrong way because I'm filming, but actually did up here, which is the two concepts, the concept cartoons was about insulation and about evaporation. So with the insulation, I actually did the snowman's coat with Belle, and the science really is about the insulation and looking at that the coat itself is an insulator, and that means that putting the coat on the snowman won't actually make the snowman melt. And it's about thermal insulation. So thermal insulation being that transfer of movement between objects, so between the coat and the snowman, and then the reduction of heat because of that. In this one, when I had my interview with Belle, she did talk a lot about that the coat actually would heat the snowman and that the snowman would melt. So really that is a misconception that Belle had. She has this idea that coats keep you warm, so the coat keeps the snowman warm, therefore it's melting the snowman. Some comments that she did have during our interview, especially up here, I've written about that, it has heat. That's what coats are used for, and it's used for trapping the heat, which is that misconception that she has, obviously, of the coat. The other ideas that Belle had was that if the coat and the snowman were at the same temperature, that actually might not melt the snowman. So she's saying that if we froze the coat, then put it on the snowman, then the snowman may not melt. She did obviously say that you're not going to freeze a coat before you put it on, because you can't put it on if it's frozen. So really she does have that misconception that coats keep humans warm, so therefore the coat would keep the snowman warm and melt it. And really, as I just spoke about, the coat actually reduces that movement and of energy in either direction, so it actually isn't going to melt the snowman. The second concept that I spoke to Belle about, which was evaporation. So the concept cartoon was used again, and there were the differing opinions of each child in the concept cartoon, and I read each one to Belle and asked her to comment on each one. So with the evaporation, we know that obviously the liquid gets heated, small bubbles of gas come to the surface and the liquid starts boiling. and then the gas bubbles actually meet the dry air, and that's how the evaporation occurs. So Belle actually knew about evaporation, and her quotes were that the water gets hot and it turns into steam and it turns into gas. So she knew that the gas actually is what helps, or makes the evaporation. Her thoughts though about her misconceptions though about the water boiling and the evaporation was actually she started talking about condensation, and then she said, is condensation the same as fog? So obviously there's a misconception there about what fog is and what condensation is in relation to evaporation as well. So I think really for Belle, I would look at lessons to do with the weather, so that she could actually learn about what fog is and different weather patterns. Also, I'd look at what condensation is and how both of those actually differ to what evaporation is, because she obviously knows what evaporation is, but she's just lacking some of that scientific concept knowledge regarding fog and condensation. Also, for the snowman coat with the insulation, obviously lessons on insulation and conductors, and that would hopefully alleviate those misconceptions that Belle has that the coat actually heats the snowman and melts the snowman underneath the coat. As well, you could actually do the snowman coat activity, so putting a sock over ice and then having one uncovered and one covered. Also, there is a book called The Snowman's Coat, which talks about obviously installation and things like that. The interview actually allowed me to understand where Belle's thinking sits in relation to the concepts and her misconceptions. And I think doing the concept cartoons actually allows you a starting point of where your discussion can start and where your concept teaching can start with students. The interesting thing that I did notice, or while I was interviewing Belle, I actually spoke to her older brother and asked him about the snowman's coat, and he knew straight away that the coat acts as an insulator and actually wouldn't melt the snowman. So obviously between Belle's year 4 level and her brother's year 7 level, the science concepts are developing at a rapid rate, and he actually knew what that science concept was, which was quite interesting. So it shows that in those year 4, 5 and 6 classes, that's where the science concepts are being taught, and especially in this insulation one. I think that using this method, especially the cartoon concepts, puts some, I suppose, a fun way of being able to find out what students know. It also gives students a starting point, so children in the picture already having an idea allows the student to actually think about what may be occurring, and then you asking those open-ended questions further develops their thinking and gives them an opportunity to, I suppose, have an opinion and their thoughts on the concepts. So this is my poster, and thank you for listening.